Okay, I'll just do the thing and then we'll start.
All right.
The Dale Show.
Nice. Good day.
Yeah. Geoff is back with us.
Hi.
This is not a sports podcast. So if this is the second one you watched and the last one, the hockey drew you in, I'm sorry. We will not be talking about sports or hockey. We're going to be talking about Spaceship Moon.
When you texted that to me, I was laughing. I was like, oh, this cannot miss. This cannot miss.
It's so funny because I was like, I don't know. I was always like, there's got to be something going on with the moon. And then I got like this moon tattoo on my arm.
Yeah.
Because I was like, and the reason that drew me in was because I came up with this great theory. I was like, what if in the biblical times, like Noah was 900, and I was like, what if they used to count years in moon phases? So like 900 years broke up into moon cycles. So if you divide 900 by 13 point something a year, that's how many moon cycles there are. It would end up that Noah was only 67 years old. And that's doable. But he did have like 100 kids. So I don't know. But that was what got me into the moon in the first place.
That's a lot of pairs of twins.
The like gravity of the moon affecting the water on the earth. I was like, there's got to be something to this. And then I had heard David Icke's theory about how the moon is this like satellite for the lizard people. And I was like, we got to do an episode of the moon. So what happened was I was like, okay, I'm going to do some research. Or actually, what happened was I was listening to this book called Our Occulted History. And then chapter 2 is about the moon. And I was like, oh, I was thinking about doing a moon thing. And he starts talking about the weird stuff on the moon. I was like, this will be good. I could get some notes from this. But instead, this entire episode is going to be based on chapter 2 of Our Occulted History by Jim Mars, because it was like big enough that we could just talk about Spaceship Moon this entire episode, and then we could do multiple moon episodes, and we could do David Icke's like lizard people stuff for the next one.
God, the moon is an untapped gem of amazing content.
Yes. Did you know that you can get H3 crystals, which is hydrogen crystals in space? Because if you take hydrogen and you make it cold, it like solidifies into crystals, and they're saying there's like micro H3 crystals on the moon.
Whoa. Okay. This is great. This is interesting stuff. Okay.
That has nothing to do with
that's a completely different topic. So are we talking about Spaceship Moon? Are we talking about hydrogen crystals? What's happening?
We're talking about Spaceship Moon. That was just another thing to get you
hyped. A little teaser for the future.
Up on the moon.
I'm already hyped up on the moon. It's right up there. It's looking awesome. It's beautiful.
I just got a text from my girlfriend. She's trying to put the baby to bed in the next room, so there will be no more yelling Spaceship Moon.
Oh man, okay.
So Spaceship Moon. It's so hard not to yell that.
Yeah, softly chanting Spaceship Moon.
So good news and bad news. The good news is I got a lot of notes. The bad news is I got a lot of
notes. Yeah. How much Wikipedia are you reading tonight?
None.
What? You have so many notes you don't even have to read Wikipedia?
Awesome. Most of my notes are from this occulted history book. Then I looked up an article from New Scientist because they're like, oh, hey, the moon's older than we thought it was by 40 million years, which is like, I'll get into that. And then there's this thing called Little Astronomer. It's a website I reference just because
I call my penis.
The
Little Astronomer.
Send it into the dark holes of space. No, I looked that up because I was like, how old is the fucking solar system? And it was that's just the kids' astronomy website. Because I feel like if someone else said it, then it makes it like more
it's corroborated, right?
Legit, yeah. So I'm not just making up that the
I've literally never thought about how old the moon is. Like I just assumed it's kind of always been there like the sun.
Neither did I.
How incredibly naive of me, Dale. I'm glad we're doing this episode so that I know.
Hear the most fucked up thing ever?
Do tell. Yes, I do.
The moon is older than the sun.
I mean, plausibly, sure. Why not?
Okay, let's just get into it.
All right.
Also, the reason I was like, oh, I got all these notes, it's so I don't hop all over the place. because it's kind of structured.
You're
So
trying to stay focused. I appreciate
I
that.
know I've had people tell me that I ramble, especially when I
Never.
record by myself.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to be doing a lot of reading. So feel free to interject
Well,
or
sure.
ask me questions
Just
as I
before
go.
you start,
Yeah.
I have a moon tattoo too.
You
Hold on,
do?
I do. It's on my leg.
Bro, are we moon bros?
Oh, sort of. It's right there.
We're
Look,
moon
I
bros.
got a moon on my leg.
I can't see it.
Oh, hold up. You're
Sorry.
gonna make me stand up again.
Sorry.
I'm banging the
Show
chair
me your
around.
butt.
There.
Oh,
It's not like a
dope.
moon like the moon, but there's definitely a
Dude,
moon there.
the best would have been like if you were like, I have a moon
I have a
tattoo, and
moon
just
tattoo.
whipped your pants down and be like,
It's just my
full
butt with a
moon.
tattoo on it, with a tramp stamp.
Oh, remember mooning people?
I do. I remember mooning
Didn't even
people.
think of that as a reference for this.
Man. Okay,
Okay.
sorry. Go ahead. You're on task tonight. You've got a script and a playbook.
So all credit goes to Jim Mars for this. Lights.
Is he related to Mick Mars?
Maybe. Lights, moving shadows, unexplained structures, and even the moon's unnatural orbit might be explained by intelligent design, but such an idea would exclude that this being done by human beings from Earth, at least those in our recorded history. After 6 lunar landings between 1969 and 1972, and the return of 872 pounds of rocks and soot examples, plus the placing of 5 nuclear powered science stations on the moon's surface, there seemed to be no clear answer to the moon's mysteries. This was like. I heard that because I was listening on audiobook
Yeah.
and I was like, shut the front door. I'm all in.
There's
I'm
nuclear
invested.
bases on the moon? Is this the thing we can corroborate?
Nuclear powered science stations.
Uh-huh.
So it's like they don't create nuclear power, they're just batteries. I guess.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I don't know science. But usually this is where I couch my opinions on these theories and be like, this isn't what I believe. This is what this crazy guy who wrote an occult book believes. But you know what?
You're on board?
I'm going in.
You're on board. You're on board with this. Okay.
I'm going to be the moon is a spaceship guy. That's me.
Wow.
People are going to be like, hey, did you see the moon last night? And I'll be like,
oh my God,
you know it was a spaceship? And they'll be like, oh, fuck, Dale, shut up. Not this again. That's going to be me.
Is this what you meant when you texted me Tugboat?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay.
That's my personal theory. And we're going to
I thought that was going to be your nickname for me, but
so,
that's cool. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like jump. I didn't mean to like spoil the ending. Spoiler alert.
It evolves because it starts out as the moon is hollow. That was a theory.
Okay.
And then these 2 scientists in the 1970s were like, what if the moon was a spaceship? And then I was like, well, if the moon is a spaceship, wouldn't it just be a tugboat? Because it pulled the Earth into the solar. Okay, right, I'm gonna get to that. I'll get to that.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get you off. You're actually on topic and you've got notes. I should let you roll with this and not interrupt.
No, it's good
because, let you do it.
Because people are like, Dale's gonna fucking read for half an hour. I'm out. But then they hear like the moon's a tugboat. Okay, I can't wait to get there.
Just when you had me out, you sucked me back in.
Yes. By examining tracks.
Sorry.
Okay. Sorry.
It's my fault. You go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Good. By examining tracks in moon rocks made by cosmic rays, scientists have dated the age to 5.3 billion years ago, which is 1 billion years older than the Earth, which coincidentally, I looked it up on that little astronomer website. It's 4.543 billion years old.
Okay.
The dust those rocks were found in is 1 billion years older than the rocks themselves. So those rocks could have come from somewhere else. So the moon rock that they examined is 5.3 billion years old. Our solar system is only 4.5 billion years old.
Interesting.
So
your eyes are so wide right now. You're excited about this.
I got the you're here. We need you here.
No, this is good. This is great. I haven't seen you this hyped on something in a long time.
So we got to talk in our sexy late night voices.
Sexy late night voices. Okay.
Sexy late night voice. It's so funny. It's like most people have like a podcast studio and they just like, they're like trying to amp it up. And I'm so amped up and I'm just like in the living room that I'm like trying to keep it. I'm trying to talk in my inside voice and I keep talking in my outside voice.
I've known you a long time. You don't really have an inside voice.
It's perfect for podcasting.
Yeah, it's perfect for podcasting. Yeah, projection. Yeah,
okay, now we're gonna.
So I'm good.
Now we're gonna pop through some interesting factoids about the moon.
Okay.
The moon appears to doesn't have anything to do with anything, but it's a cool fact. The
Okay.
moon never the moon appears to have never held any significant amount of water since the moon rocks hold no water
Right.
molecules bound into their minerals. But on March 7th, 1971, Apollo instruments left behind sent a message to Earth indicating a wind of water had crossed the moon's surface and lasted 14 hours. And this went from they apparently in the 70s when they went to the moon 6 times, they left those
Yeah,
nuclear
some
powered,
sensors.
and there's like in different spots. So this water wind went by one for 14 hours, then went by another one for 14 hours. So there's like water mist going
Yeah.
by the moon. Nobody knows what it was. Could have been a fucking ghost for all we know. Space water ghost.
Vapor ghost.
Okay. Then there are Maria, are large seas of molten rock solidified on the moon, it indicates lava outpouring at some time. Some of the moon's craters are of internal origin. So what happens was there's like, sorry, my notes, like I
No, it's okay.
stopped
I think,
going verbatim on that book and I just
yeah,
started taking point notes. So what happens is there's these large lava lakes
yeah.
that are cooled lava on the moon, and they call them Maria. And they say that there's no craters on top of them, so there must be craters over top because
Well,
the moon is
yeah,
covered
below
in
them.
craters.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
And so they're saying that some of the craters on the moon came from volcanic activity inside.
So not just like, because I remember when we were in school, they would tell us that the craters were for like impact craters from
Mhm,
asteroids and stuff hitting the moon,
exactly.
right?
There
Yeah,
are some in these
yeah, of
lakes,
course. Yeah,
but
they're like
so
obviously
yeah,
impact craters, but you're right.
but
Okay, plausible, plausible.
there's less than other areas of the moon.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is from the New Scientist website. This is like the legit science, not like an occult book. And this was an article from October 2023. 4.46 billion years ago, as the magma surface of the object cooled and solidified. Okay, so what they're saying is they took samples from one of these Maria,
Mhm.
and they have silicon crystals, which are called zircons.
Zircons. That's what cubic zirconia. That's the
Yeah.
diamond analog.
So silicon crystals were formed when this magma was solidified, making zircons. Because of their resilience to heat and harsh environments, the crystals still survive and can be used to identify as the moon's earliest moments. Zirconian crystals, or zircon crystals, contain radioactive uranium, which decays into lead at a well defined
Yeah,
rate. So scientists can determine a rock sample age by measuring the amount of lead and uranium.
right.
So the New Scientist doc, I put this in there because they're saying that the moon is 4.46 billion years old,
Yeah,
judging by these lakes of Maria, because that's where they got the crystals.
right.
But the rock that they had before was over 5 billion years. But so this is in there because this means that those lava lakes formed after the moon was a hole.
So to play the straight man,
Hmm.
is it possible that those rocks that are on the moon that are 5 billion years old, that are older than the Maria lakes, is it possible those rocks came from somewhere else?
Yeah,
Like,
they could be
okay,
remnants of
oh, got
asteroids
another,
that hit the moon
yeah, like
or pieces.
older bodies, older celestial bodies
Mhm.
crashing into the moon, right?
Yeah. So, oh, and by the way, they're saying the moon is 4.46 million years ago. All the planets in our solar system, like I said before, are 4.5 million years old.
Right. So the
So
moon
they're
is
saying,
even still, it's a billion or so years older.
yeah. So, well, no, it's like 40 million years
40 million,
younger
sure. Yes,
than
yeah, yeah.
our solar system.
Right.
Okay. So, according to Little Astronomy, that's that website, the solar system formed 4.568 billion years ago. It started as a solar nebula, which is a fancy word to say it was just a bunch of cosmic dust and gas. When a nearby star went supernova, that is to say, it exploded violently. Like I said, there's a website for kids.
Yeah.
This cloud of particles was disrupted and collapsed on itself at the core. A protostar began to form, and its gravity and the momentum of all this movement forced the rest of the dust clouds to realign in the shape of a disk. That protostar is our sun. When the dust and gas started to collide with each other, small pieces of rock started to form. Those pieces formed asteroids, and then larger objects started to take shape. those would eventually become the planets that we know today. In astronomical terms, all that happened pretty fast. It only took a million years or so. So our solar system forms 4.568 billion years ago, when all this dust collapses and forms like a protostar. And then within a million years, all that process I just said happens. And then
Yeah.
4.5 to 4.6, all the planets kind of form by asteroids hitting each other and forming.
Yeah.
And then, so back to the moon. So these Maria lakes that I was talking about, 20 to 40 miles below each one of them in the center are these things called mascons, which I found out later is just a massive concentration. That's what mascon stands
Oh, that's
for.
it. It's literally an abbreviation
Yeah,
for a
it's not.
longer phrase.
It's not at all a clever name. So, but these are, yeah, these are large circular masses, and they're discovered because the denseness distorted the orbit of spacecraft over the moon's surface. So in the 60s and 70s, when they
Yeah.
would like shoot all their orbiters and their lunar
Yeah, the lunar
voyagers or whatever
landers
they're
and yeah.
called,
Yeah.
they would go over these dense pockets and they would fuck up their orbit. So they're like, there's got to be something below there. And they're
Right.
like, some scientists are like, maybe these are meteors that just like hit and went in the moon, but meteors usually just get like obliterated
Yeah,
when
they
they hit
fall
the
apart or
moon.
they hit, yeah, they have an impact and
Yeah.
they get destroyed.
And then some people say, well, since it's below the Maria or the lava lake, it's probably just like a cavern that filled with lava, but it's even denser than lava.
Hmm.
So
So
this
in
is
a way, that's
pretty.
kind of similar to airline turbulence, right? It's like pockets of differently dense air underneath an
Mhm.
airplane that causes it to drop down out of the
Yeah.
sky. So in a way, so that means there's like a yeah, like a
Mhm.
different density of material beneath the ship as it's flying over the moon.
So this author Don Wilson, he's like, those are probably artificially constructed since they're
Oh,
in
here
the
we go.
middle of those
Here we
lava
go.
lakes.
Here we go.
And then another thing is there's internal creaking of the moon
I have
registered
internal
by.
creaking in my
Hey.
moon and some
So
external creaking.
yeah, so the moon on those six different instruments that they left behind,
Yeah.
um when the moon goes around the earth and it like gets closer and further away, there's like internal creaking and like earth or moon quakes they call them, and they believe it's like internal rocks just like kind of settling, like,
Shifting. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like maybe like rocks going through sand and stuff. But you know what I think it is?
What do you think it is, Dale?
Ballasts.
Oh,
I think
like
it's
a
like,
spaceship
yes.
moon.
So it's like the moon's going around the earth, right? And
Mhm.
when it gets closer to the earth, there's this creaking and stuff. So my theory is with the like spaceship is that they're ballast so that it changes the gravitational center of the moon or in enough ways so that it doesn't like get closer. So it's like if you take these dense plate, like if you have a spheroid like the
Mhm.
moon, and inside you have denser spheroids attached to a mechanism that can go in and out, because the moon never unfaces the earth. So
I was actually gonna bring that up. Okay, cool. Keep
so
going.
if it's going around like this and it starts getting closer, then you move the gravitational pull away, then it kind of would like the momentum would kind of take it away from the earth. And then once it's too far away, maybe those ballasts go the other way and kind of pull it towards earth. Or or maybe it pulls the earth.
Right. That's
Maybe
why we
the
only see
ballast.
one face of the moon
That's the
because it's the
tugboat
back of the
theory.
tugboat,
Yeah.
right? That we're being hauled behind. I figured you were gonna go. Figured that was the direction you were gonna go with it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I was actually trying to think about that like while you were talking. Even I'm like, we only ever actually see one face of the moon. I, like every
Mhm.
photo of the moon I've ever seen is the exact same photo, right?
That's because this like the moon rotates, right?
Yeah,
But it rotates in synchronicity with
with
the
the
orbit
Earth,
of the earth,
right?
with its orbit around. So it's like it's turning like this, but it's like going
This is going to sound
like,
like an incredibly naive and dumb
yeah.
question. Did the different hemispheres of the Earth see a different moon face, or do we all see the same moon face?
We see the same moon face, but they see it upside down.
Right. Oh,
Australia seems it
fuck.
upside
Okay,
down.
sorry, my brain broke for a second there. Had to
No,
get
that's
back on
fine.
it. I was like, because it's
And
literally always the same
yeah,
image of the moon that we
and
see.
that's part of it because
Right.
the
Okay.
moon, um, where the
I mean,
fuck's
I'm sure there's like a proper scientific explanation for it,
wait?
but I also, yeah, but I also get how people would be like, this is how flat Earth started for sure.
Okay,
But like,
yeah,
one person starts going, oh, that is weird that that never happens. It
yeah.
is weird that we only ever see one part of the
Hmm.
Earth.
And I have like different notes, but there's this one part, we'll get to it in a sec. But the actual gravitational center of the moon,
Yeah.
like where the gravitational center should be, is off. It's like a kilometer or something closer to the Earth than the
Yeah.
actual geographic center of the moon. So I think that's part of like what
Interesting.
helps it, like maybe like a gyroscope, since
Yeah.
it's like the gravitational center or the density center or whatever however you like
However you want to
gravity affected.
visualize
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So in 1958, Soviet
Astronomer.
astronomer
I love that. It's
Nikolai
my favorite sandwich meat.
Akosirov photographed the first gaseous eruption from the moon, which he attributed to escaping fluorescent gases. Some other scientists saw reddish glows in 1963, and 2 hours later, colored gases were observed for over an hour. This is just part of the whole ballast mechanism thing. Maybe it's like powered by gases or something
Yeah.
inside. So it's like when the earth or when the moon gets different gravitational effects on it from the earth, maybe the gases move around inside and affect these ballasts and stuff. It could be like if I was more science man,
More of a science man.
if I was a more science man, and they don't have any proof that the earth's hollow, but they know that it's less dense on the inside than the outside,
Right. Yeah.
which seems counter to what it should be because as you go down, the gravitational pull would be stronger. So you
Yeah.
figure it would be like compact and harder in the middle. Sorry.
Ladies. Okay.
On November
Oh, dance.
20th,
Oh,
1969, they were leaving the moon, and the ascent module that when they got to their like craft to come back to Earth, they're like, why don't we just crash this back into the moon so it's not floating around in space or whatever?
right.
So they're like, it was like 1960s or whatever, and they didn't care about garbage or what possible effects they did. So they're like, yeah, fuck it, let's just drop it back on the moon. So they dropped it and it fucking hit the moon and it reverberated for an hour like a bell.
Weird.
So the
So
moon like
is
vibrated and
hollow. That's
stuff.
the is this the
Yep.
moon is hollow theory?
Well, that's where some people get the moon is hollow theory, and that's just like I'm
How did
just
they
putting that
test the
in there.
reverberation? How
Well,
did they know it was
those
the
six those
sensors?
six nuclear powered like the
Right.
six things, and then I think in like some other time they shot something at the moon to see what would happen too, but I didn't come
That sounds
across
like a
that in the
very
notes.
American scientific
Yeah,
solution.
it
Let's
does.
shoot the moon and see what happens. What if
So,
we shot at it?
mhm.
What happens when you shoot the moon?
So now that we covered all the physical stuff, let's talk
Okay.
about other theories.
The
So,
mental part of the moon?
yeah, how did the moon get there? One
Yeah.
theory is the moon is a breakaway piece of Earth, like something hit Earth, like Earth used to be bigger, something
Yeah.
hit it, split it in two, but the Earth and the moon are too dissimilar in their matter
Makeup.
makeup,
Yeah.
so they're not pieces. But that was like one of the first theories. And then another theory is
It's weird that would be
maybe,
the theory. It's weird
yeah.
that the theory that's a weird theory that the moon is a chunk of the earth.
Well, I think it's either Uranus or Saturn or something has one of its moons is a piece that broke
Oh,
off.
like
So they're kind of, yeah.
do you remember that thing? I don't remember what it was. On TV when we were little, there was like that whole thing where like I know some of the names of the moons of the planets just because there was this like science guy who did TV show things in between.
Wonderstruck?
Maybe it wasn't Wonderstruck. It's like Io and Ganymede and like I know all these like
Yeah.
weird names and Titan and all like all these
Yeah, those
moon
are the
names.
moons of Jupiter, aren't
Jupiter,
they?
I think. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And it's funny because Ganymede, like I listen to a lot of synthwave, and
Yeah.
Ganymede always comes up.
Right.
And it's like Ganymede, I think from like the 80s, there's like a weird infatuation with Ganymede because I guess it just sounds super science fictiony, but it might be
It's
the
probably
most livable
old
moon or
Greek or
something.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. And then okay, so another theory is that the moon is just an accumulation of space debris, like
Right.
how I was talking about
Yeah.
how the thing started, but the gravitational pull of the earth would have pulled that dust away from the moon, so it wouldn't have been able to like concentrate there.
Right.
Like you couldn't get, like basically what it's saying is you can't get the moon concentrating where it is because all this debris would have just been pulled to earth.
Right.
Yeah. So, and another one was the moon was generated somewhere else, and then it kind of shot by, and then the gravitational pull of the moon kind of grabbed it, or the gravitational pull of earth kind of grabbed it, and then the sun kind of like leveled it out or whatever.
Okay.
But I guess Isaac Asimov, the super famous writer, he's like, it's too big for that. And I don't know. I'm not going to say whether it is or isn't, but that is another theory.
Are we just letting writers do that now? We're just letting writers make those
Science fiction
determinations.
writers. Hey,
Yeah.
I don't know. He
True. He did write the robot protocols.
he
So
he probably knows more
he
about fucking the moon than I do.
the I know he definitely knows more. It's funny, man. I know you said you were like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this podcast about the moon, and I was like, oh cool, the moon. I don't have to do any research. I know everything about the moon. I know nothing about the moon. I know absolutely
Yeah.
squat about the moon.
And the best part is nobody fucking knows about the moon.
Well, because we haven't visited it in uh, as long as I've been alive.
Chinese people.
Chinese people, just random Chinese people. They just
Uh,
they
China
went up
was
there.
China was fucking around on it in 2018
Oh
because I
yeah.
remember on my birthday in 2018 there was a news article, July 28th. If you want to send me a present, there's
Oh
a
yeah.
moon article about they found like green goo on the backside of the
Oh
moon,
yeah. I
and
remember
I was
that.
like,
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
fuck? And
Right.
then
I
they're like,
remember that.
oh yeah, it's just like solar radiation and like the reflection of Mars or something stupid. And I was like, oh, well, that's
Right. I
pretty
remember that.
anticlimactic.
It ended up being nothing. Yeah. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
thanks. Thanks for wasting my moon time. My precious attention span. It got murdered by your moon story.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
were talking about one of the weird things about the moon is its orbit is a perfect circle,
Yeah. That is weird.
and its like rotation is synchronized with the Earth. So its period of orbit around the Earth. So one side is always facing Earth with only slight variation.
Right.
Further oddity is the moon's center mass is a mile closer to Earth than its geometric center, which would kind of explain, like, since it's heavy on one side, why that would like, because I imagine when the moon first got there and started like doing its thing, it would probably wobble a lot, but
I
like
like how you're just not saying orbits because you refuse to say orbits because you're sticking to your spaceship guns.
okay, so
When the moon got there and then just hung there in the sky, you mean in orbit? Hell no, I don't mean in orbit.
yes, when the moon was in, I'm still like talking about how the moon could have just been like, how it could not be a spaceship.
Right.
So since the
Okay,
center
I'll allow it.
mass, yeah, so the center mass is like a mile closer.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, like, if you take the theory of the moon just came in, it would have like been like all wild, and it would have like gone in and out, and it would have wobbled back and forth. But then since it's center mass, like it would eventually just settle in, so that the moon's one side only faces us because the center mass is a mile off. So it would just
Right.
pull that side more, and then the moon maybe doesn't even spin, but it's just that it's going around the earth. So if you think about it like going like this, it's still spinning. But anyways, yeah.
So
So yeah, sorry.
on uh on the sort of tugboat theory, or we're not there quite there yet, are we?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Oh wait.
We're not quite there yet. I'm
Comment withheld.
trying. I'm trying not to be too overwhelming with too much stuff, and
Okay.
I am jumping around,
It's all
and
good.
I do
You're doing great.
apologize.
No, you're doing great.
So is everything clear so far?
Claro. So far, so good.
Okay. So William Kenneth Hartman in the 60s came up with this thing called the big whack theory.
In the 60s. I'm sure the big
Yeah.
whack theory was invented before the 60s.
And so this was the moon was created when the earth hit another body at least as big as Mars. And then this would actually work with, remember when we were talking about oh wait, this was before you. This was episode 1. I was talking about the
Wow.
Anunnaki and the Nephilim.
Yeah, I listened to the show.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
one of that this matches up with that theory where one like I can't remember the name of it, but like Tiamat or something hit Earth and then the piece fell off and
Yeah.
yeah. So this other body as big as Mars hits Earth, a piece falls off, and then that makes the moon. The big whack did not explain how the impact did not increase Earth's orbit speed, so a theory was added that a second body, 3 times the size of Mars, coming from the opposite direction, impacted Earth and canceled the increased speed. The story of Nibiru's large moon, Kingu, striking the watery world called Tiamat. That's the one from
Yeah.
the
The
Anunnaki
Anunnaki.
theory.
Yeah.
This is tentatively accepted. They're like, well, we don't fucking know.
We don't know. And
So we're
it's not like
just
it was
gonna
recorded or anything.
go
Yeah.
with the big whack theory because that doesn't make sense, but it makes like the least amount of not sense.
Right.
Does that sound right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's dumb because like so the big whack theory, the earth is like the earth is on its orbit around the moon and they think or around the sun, sorry. Don't want to confuse. So the
Don't
earth is on its orbit around the sun and they think another piece came and hit it and so that would increase the speed because it would kind of be like a push.
right.
So the added theory is like this other thing kind of hit it exactly in the right spot to slow it down and put it
Right.
back
Okay.
on its orbit,
Yeah.
which is
Excuse me.
dumb.
Mhm.
And that doesn't how explain. Okay, this doesn't explain how the moon ended up being 1/400th the size of the sun and in orbit exactly 1/400th the distance to the sun.
What? Wait, run that by me again.
So the moon
Yeah. Is
is
one four
exactly
hundredth the size of the sun.
yes, and
And
it's 1/400th the distance to the sun.
oh, weird. So some kind of weird math problem.
Yeah, so that's why that's why you have a perfect
An
solar
eclipse.
eclipse
Right. Okay. That makes
where
sense.
the moon blocks out the body of the sun and you can just see the corona on the outside.
Because on a scale, they're basically the same size at one four
Yes.
hundredth size and distance ratio.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay.
And something
That's
had to put the
interesting.
moon at that exact altitude and on its course
Science
and
did,
at
Dale.
its speed in
It
the
was
orbit.
aliens. Yeah.
But side note to lean
That
to
blows an
add
absolute hole in your spaceship theory.
no,
Okay. Never mind.
the moon that proves my spaceship theory
How?
because they
That's way
put
too exact
people
for that.
driving the moon put it there.
Here's
They
a
put
question.
it one
Quick
four hundredth the
question. Quick
size of
question.
yeah.
If they're driving the moon,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't that imply that the moon is moving?
No, they drove it to there and then they
Oh
kind
my
of
god.
parked it in
Okay.
the orbit.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
It's like this International Space Station.
Right.
It's just kind of hanging out in orbit.
Gotcha. Okay.
But to poke a hole in my theory, there is another planet that does have a moon that's the exact same thing.
Okay.
Um,
Where those
and it's
ratios are the same?
yeah, it's Saturn's moon Prometheus has
Yeah.
roughly the same angular diameter as the sun when viewed from Saturn.
Okay.
So that's what they
Interesting.
call it. It's like because the angles,
Yeah.
if you're looking at the moon from Earth, it kind of like the angles match up with
Yes.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
outside to the outside.
Totally. I
And
gotcha.
Prometheus on Saturn is the same.
Yeah.
But that could also be a spaceship.
It's all these planets being tugged around by tinier planets. It's very, if you live in New Westminster, you see that on the Fraser River all the time. It's the same theory. Yeah, they're just hauling around this box of idiots from one planet to the next, from one solar system to the next solar system.
Okay, so the moon is a spaceship theory came around in 1970 by two Russian, I think they were like astronomers, Michael Vassin and Alexander Sherbakov. Side note, I tried to find this article for like an hour
Yeah,
on
nothing.
different
Eh?
at different times, and I couldn't find it because it was published in like Russia's scientific magazine Sputnik,
Right.
and that's all in Russian. And I could like I just googled
Yeah.
because the title of the article is called "Is the Moon a Creation of Alien Intelligence?" And I
Uh-huh.
could not find anything. I could only find reference to this thing saying that it was a spaceship.
Interesting.
And so what they're saying in this, like I like the guy who did the book, the occult our occulted history, Jim
Yeah.
Mars or whatever. Was his name Jim Mars?
Yeah, I think so. That's what you
Double
said
check
earlier.
that.
It wasn't
Yeah,
Mick
Jim
Mars.
Mars.
Okay.
Now I lost my spot.
Oh my God.
As soon as I started scrolling, I'm like, I'm definitely gonna lose my spot in my notes. Okay, wait. Is that it? Yeah, okay. So Jim Mars, he actually gave like a brief synopsis of what this article said about. It's like the moon is not a natural world, but a planetoid that was hollowed out eons ago in the far reaches of space by intelligent beings possessing technology superior to ours. Okay, so remember what I was talking about, those mascons
Yeah.
that are below the center of the Maria or the lakes of lava?
Yeah.
The reason that they're denser than the rest of the moon is because they're machines. And the
Okay.
reason they're at the center of these lava lakes is because they're what spewed out the lava. Because they like this is like the spaceship theory. So they're saying that these mascons chewed up the inner stuff or rock, whatever that's in the moon, chewed it up, heated it up, and expelled it to the outside of the moon. This could have been done for numerous reasons, like A, maybe the moon wasn't fully round, maybe there was like
Right.
maybe it got
Yeah,
like
crevices or cracks or
beat to
whatever.
shit because it's like
Yeah.
you see the moon and it's been obliterated by comets and shit, so maybe it
Yeah.
was just some broken down tug in the corner reaches of space and they came up upon it and they're like, we could make this round again, we could hollow out the middle, and it'd be pretty nice. It's a fixer upper,
The
but
fixer upper.
we
Yeah.
got some time.
Next week on Flip This Moon. Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a
um
budget of they have a budget of $3 million. He's an arc
yes.
welder and she's a budding artist. Let's find their moon on Find My Moon.
So their theory is like, um the craft was then steered through the cosmos and parked in orbit of Earth, and that could be an asteroid to use to transport ancient aliens,
Whoa,
space
here we go.
travelers who were mentioned in the
Ancient
Sumerian
astronaut theory
tablets.
suggests.
Yeah. So in the ancient Sumerian theory, they're saying that like that's where the Anunnaki came. And basically that theory, the short of it is there was this planet that came into Earth's orbit and then they wanted gold. So they came down and they like the genetically manipulated the like ape people that lived on Earth at the time and made them into humans. And that's like when we had our alien hybrid thing, when they had that fused DNA piece, like how there's
Yeah.
only 23 pairs of DNA instead of 24 to make it 48 like other animals and stuff. They're saying they did that to make like humans so they could mine gold, give it to the Anunnaki, and the Anunnaki could take that gold, turn it into powder, go back to their planet, and spew it as dust in their atmosphere.
Right.
So, yeah.
I got
Uh,
so my brain shut off for a second. And I was thinking about some other stuff.
yeah.
You mentioned earlier David Icke and lizard people from the moon and stuff. And I remember in the 80s, I had a comic. It was a Spider-Man comic that had like a record that went along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about this dragon man called Draco who came from the moon.
Draco.
Draco. That was it. Do you remember that?
No, but I think Man or Astro Man sampled that record in one of their songs because I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
they're talking about thing. So
I
it's,
remember it being scary as shit listening to the voice on the, and it was like all creepy on the record and stuff.
oh
Yeah.
wow,
Anyway,
that's
I
cool.
digress. It was rad.
Yeah. Um,
Sorry, I got totally distracted.
and
Yeah,
then
Invasion of the Dragon Men.
someone else says there's been, I didn't get a chance to look this up because I was like, that just seems like a whole other rabbit hole that I would go down.
Yeah.
Like someone was saying there's activity on the moon, like reports of structures,
So I've seen
and
that before too. Like I don't remember, again. I don't remember where I
I
saw it, but
thought I put that in here.
I'm pretty sure your buddy Joe Rogan talked about this one time before,
Oh yeah.
about
Okay,
structures
so
on the moon. And like, don't forget the whole like the Elvis face on the moon. There's like the face of Elvis is
wasn't that
sculpted
on
into the moon
Mars?
somewhere. Oh, Mars. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. My
Okay,
bad. This is a show
so
about the moon, Geoff.
I actually did touch on that in my later notes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so
I'm
I'll
just
just
spoiler alert, Captain today.
no, it's fine. My notes are out of order. Or they're not out of order. It's just this guy was skipping around and stuff.
Yeah.
But so
Oh no, there is a face on the south pole of the moon.
oh, is
Apparently,
there?
yeah,
Hmm.
it's a pretty famous one.
Wow. There's this thing called the Shard Occult, or it's
Yeah,
in the Occult area. It was photographed in 1967 by Orbiter 3. And supposedly a mile high. I looked at the picture because it's like they took I can't remember what it's called. It's like some specific, it's like HG3 or something. It's this like famous picture, but I looked at it and I didn't see the shard. And then they're like, here's this one guy, he blew it up and did some photo enhancing effects. And then there's like this little like wink on this picture.
yeah,
And to me, and they're like saying like it could be an antenna or something to for the spaceship. But remember that cigar asteroid that went through and they called it like
yes,
Oahu or
yeah,
something?
yeah, yeah.
It just looks like one of those crashed into the moon
Okay,
if you actually see it. And then there's this other thing, it's called the tower, and
yeah,
it's 5 miles tall above the surface of the moon. And the top of the tower is a bunch of cubes grouped together to make one big cube that's over a mile wide. But the other
weird.
thing is, these are from photos in 1967, and there's only like one or two of them.
Yeah,
So it's like when you say one cube, there's like these little cubes that make up a big cube. That's like sounds like pixelation to me,
yeah, yeah, totally.
or like if salt or something got in the negative, or like
Yeah,
something got into
back
the
pressured or
liquid.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, got into the liquid when you were developing the photos.
right. Oh yeah, I see that picture. I actually I was googling stuff. I just see that picture. It says
Yeah.
alien structure and extraterrestrial base found on the backside of the moon. But you're right. It
Yeah.
totally just looks like a cigar shaped asteroid landed there.
Yeah, and then there's two photos from 29 miles above the Sea of Tranquility, and they show several slender pyramids and obelisks. And this Russian scientist Alexander Abramov said that they have the same layout as the pyramids in Egypt, like
Oh,
lining up with
yeah.
Orion's belt and stuff. So one of the theories is on Spaceship Moon, they're like meant to interact with the pyramids in Egypt. I guess maybe like a space elevator or
Right.
something. I don't really know. And then, oh, this other thing, like Cat Williams was on Joe Rogan, and it was fucking. If you're into wild shit, listen to that because they basically run the gambit. But one of the things was they're talking about the Ark of the Covenant,
Yeah.
and Cat Williams says the nucleus that's in the Ark of the Covenant is the same thing that used to be in the pyramids. And I was like, I
What?
never even thought about that. Like it could be like
It came from
some,
a different pyramid or something. It was taken out of a pyramid or
yeah, or it was an extra battery or
right.
engine that would run in the pyramids. So it's like, for lack of a better term, you just say nucleus, like the center of like a
Yeah.
nuclear machine or something, but it would just be like whatever you would say for alien tech. So it's like, say it's like the power source,
Mhm.
and maybe they make them in the pyramids, then they put them in the Ark of the Covenant and take them up to the moon. Maybe they shoot them at the moon. I don't
Holy
know.
crap. What is happening right
Who
now?
fucking knows what happened back then?
I was just like, just to change tactic a little bit, change
Yeah.
tack a little bit. I was just Googling the pictures of the backside of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So like we always see like the Sea of Tranquility side, right? Like
Yeah.
we see that same side all the time where there's these big kind of marks and there's some dark spots and stuff. I was just looking at the backside of the moon and it's absolutely peppered with like craters.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I just came up with another theory that has nothing to do with anything. Is completely off topic. What if
Yeah.
the moon is a shield for the Earth?
That could be part of the tugboat theory.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
That's all the
sorry.
notes I have. So let's discuss. So my
Okay.
tugboat theory
Yeah.
is, so these aliens, I'm just trying to piece this together. So I was like, because I was like, what if you just accept the moon's a spaceship? Like, you're not trying to disprove it.
Right.
Let's just
We're
suspend our
just buying into the
disbelief.
theory. Okay.
We're like, okay, the moon is a spaceship.
Yeah.
It's off or it's in sleep mode or whatever. And then you start thinking, like, well, why? Like, what's the point of getting a spaceship, taking it to Earth, and then leaving there? Like, if you were just transporting people here to get gold to take back to your planet, wouldn't you take the moon with you? Like, why would you spend all this time
Ah,
hollowing out the moon?
counterpoint.
Yeah.
When our astronauts went to the moon,
Mm-hmm.
there were these stage rockets to get the astronauts to the moon, and parts of
Yeah.
it broke off, right? And then the lander was the last part that landed on the moon, had just enough to kick back and get home, but they had to leave parts on the way there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's part of a larger spaceship that launched.
Oh, good call.
Huh?
Yeah, that's a nice call.
I was just thinking, like, if you want to look at it from a pragmatic, if you want to take this ridiculous theory and look at it from a pragmatic
Oh,
perspective,
yeah,
it's the last floating piece that couldn't return.
that's true.
Right, so it did its job, it got people
Mm-hmm.
here, and it was the like fourth or fifth stage of the machine to get people here.
Yeah. So
How
my
about that?
theory, that's a good theory.
All right.
That's worth um going after.
All
Okay,
right.
so my tugboat theory is it's a million years older than the Earth.
The Earth, right?
So maybe they come here to Earth, and you know how I said there's like ballast in the middle
Yeah.
of it? Well, there isn't, but we're just saying there is.
Okay.
So there's some internal mechanism in the moon that can like shift its like density or its like mass center so that it can pull itself or move itself from the Earth depending on its orbit around. My thought was, if it's a tough, like, what if these people, the aliens who came to get the gold from Earth, okay, we don't even have to, I'm just saying that as an example of like why they would come to Earth.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't want part of the resources, they would just like, what? They wanted to come and watch monkey men
Hang
have
out.
sex or whatever.
Yeah.
So they come here, but they realize that to keep the Earth, because Earth is in this like, people call it the Goldilocks zone, which annoys me just because it's like a dumbified term for no
Right.
reason.
Yeah.
But it's basically, it's just in the just right zone. That's why they call it Goldilocks. Like, you couldn't say
Right.
it's just in the just right zone
The
or
just right zone sounds
the
much
good
better,
range.
because the Goldilocks zone eliminates like people who've never heard that
Yeah, exactly.
fairy tale or
It's,
parable before.
yeah, it's xenophobic. Eh?
Yeah.
Because
Ah.
only it's like a Eastern, or it's like a European centric fable.
Yeah.
But
Totally.
anyways, so Earth is in the exact position it needs to be. Like,
To
if it
support
moves
life.
any closer to the sun, it
We're
dies. If it
baked.
moves any
Yeah.
further away from the
We're cold.
sun, it dies. If the moon moves further away from the Earth, it dies. If the moon moves closer to Earth, it dies.
Yeah.
So there's like all like, so what I'm thinking is maybe the aliens who made the moon spaceship, they see this hunk of planet called the Earth with all the, because the main thing about Earth is all the fucking water on it.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's more valuable than the gold. So they see this Earth or this planetoid covered in like ice and shit, and they're like, if we like
Get it
jizz
at the
on that,
exact
put
right
some,
area.
yeah. So they take the tugboat and they start pulling it into um
Toward the sun.
rotation around the sun. And it's like, we're thinking about this in super like, hey, they just grab it and pull it and that would
Yeah,
like
but it
fuck it
takes
up. But
forever. Like, you're thinking of it more of a long-term thing.
yeah, like, it took a million years for the
To tug
planets
the
to
Earth over.
form
Yeah. Yes.
and be in the right spot. So like the Earth is 4.3 something billion years old. We don't know how long it took for that Earth to look like it does now or get in the right spot. So maybe like they could have even been like tugboating it and cooking as they went. Like
Yeah.
they start like slowly moving it in and then they throw like panspermia. Like that's another theory. Like maybe they controlled panspermia where they put stuff on the earth like
Whenever I
they
see you,
threw
my pants get firmia.
they
Oh
take
no.
like they take like seeds of trees and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, side note, you want to hear something fucked up?
Sure. Do
Did
I?
you know that trees are older than funguses?
Fungi.
Like
But yeah,
trees on earth used to never decompose.
right.
Like they would just grow and fall over and they would just be there.
Right.
So that's basically what made all the coal in the earth. And
Oh,
then
okay.
later on, fungus came to earth and then like learned how to decompose trees. And that's the only reason why trees decompose now.
Huh.
Which, I mean, if we're already at the tugboat theory,
We're already at the
and we
tugboat
got this
theory.
spaceship with aliens on it just affecting the earth, maybe they sprinkle a little bit of this. Maybe they're like, all right,
They salt bait a little bit of fungus onto the
yeah,
earth.
they're like, all right, we fucked up.
Yeah.
We put tree seeds on this planet. Now it's just
Yeah.
fucking trees.
Yeah.
We got to get rid of it. So they like start decomposing trees, and then that makes like the nutrients for other plant life, and then those plants start like making
Right.
microbiomes and like
It creates those little ecosystems within
bacteria and
them.
all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And then what you were saying before about it being a shield, I agree with that because like as so the earth on its circumference of the sun, there's this thing called the Perseid meteor
Yep.
stream.
The persons. We actually
So
saw them. We actually went to go see them. God, I can't remember when that was.
yeah,
We drove out to
it's
Boundary
in
Bay to lay down and watch the meteors come across. It's in the
it's
summer because
in
it was warmer. June?
June
Yeah.
and 6 months later because it's
Yeah.
like so what it is it's this giant it's called the Perseid meteor cluster and they call it the Perseid meteor shower. So it's this big ring of asteroids and
It was
what
beautiful to
happens
watch it.
is it's basically a field of asteroids that our solar system are like we go through it twice a year because it's basically a giant ring.
Yeah.
And they're saying that's actually how the dinosaurs got wiped out because the earth just got hit by a big one there. So what could have happened was the moon in your shield theory as it was going through like if you they probably timed it out perfectly that
So that it
as it
lines
was
up with the
going
parasites. Yeah.
yeah, so it goes through before the earth does. And then another
Takes
weird
out the
thing
big
is
chunks.
another reason the only reason that earth exists and stuff is because Jupiter sucks up a lot of the like it's so big and its gravitational pull is so
Yeah.
big that it's like basically a big like icebreaker if you
Okay.
think about it that way
Yeah.
because it would suck up a lot of these meteors as it goes through too
Right.
because it has such a higher gravitational pull than
Yeah,
the earth.
gravitational pull. It's got a bigger orbit. It's got a bigger
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. So it drives. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's almost like a bunch of shield layering that
Yeah,
stops
exactly.
Earth. And to your tugboat theory,
Yeah,
thinking about it this way too, um, if it was a giant ice ball at some point and the moon was pulling it toward Earth slowly and gradually melting it so they could monitor it and watch how things were happening on Earth as it's
yeah,
being pulled closer toward the sun. So less of the theory of they pulled it all the way there. Maybe they pulled it too far. They're like, oh shit, we melted too much. We got to
yeah.
push it back a little bit, right?
And the tugboat theory is like I'm not even saying that the earth wasn't in the solar system. I'm saying it could have been
Yeah, it just needed to be moved
just
slightly.
outside of the just right zone. I'm just gonna call it out of
But
spite. I'm gonna call
yeah,
it the just right zone.
isn't there a
Like,
cereal called Just Right?
yeah, there was. Wasn't that
Yeah,
like old people like
I think it
fortified with
was.
vitamin cereal?
Yep, fortified with
Anyways,
vitamins.
so these aliens see that Earth is like could be like maybe they were like us.
Yeah,
Like you know how we're like looking for other habitable planets?
yeah.
Like I
Well,
mean
we
that
fucked
could
this
be
one
it
up.
too. So maybe we didn't fuck it up. Maybe the aliens fucked it up because maybe we're fucking aliens.
Oh, there we go.
And this goes back to the human hybrids before too, because maybe they didn't genetically manipulate these ape people that were here before us. Maybe they just fucked them.
Which is honestly that's the more likely scenario.
Yeah, I mean,
what do we have here for me to stick my penis into?
yeah, you know what's a lot easier than doing science and splitting genes?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
fucking,
yeah. Just making
fucking
love, making
monkeys.
sweet love to monkeys. Yeah, that's
That's
so
a
much.
lot easier.
So it's faster, it's more efficient, it's cleaner. Yeah. So
Some would even say more pleasurable.
someone would even say more pleasurable. Yeah. You can see them at their table, like planning their little meeting. Like, okay, if we genetically splice our DNA with the monkeys, and then this is like, yeah, Johnson, what do you want? Sir, how about we just fuck them? Let's just go down there and fuck them. Oh, Johnson, you bring up a good point. Let's go fuck them. Let's go
He
fuck some
like
monkeys.
has a money saving graph, and then the
Yeah, it's
bean
like a big
counters are like,
chart.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's
You
like
can save a lot of money by fucking these monkeys.
this axis is like
Yeah,
money, and this
yeah.
axis is monkey fucking.
Monkey fucking the monkey fucking axis. Money versus monkey fucking axis graph. It's a SWOT analysis of should we fuck the monkeys? What are the strengths about fucking monkeys? What are
Oh,
the
that's good.
weaknesses? What are the opportunities and where are the threats?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's all the notes I have, by the way.
Okay, cool.
So we could let's just free ball.
Yeah,
We got some extra time.
that's pretty good. Cool. Yeah, I'm like, so yeah, I'm running. I'm pretty tired today. It was
Yeah,
a
you
long day.
worked and watch your child do sports.
In a cold, it was so cold today. It was so
Oh,
cold.
dude, it was cold. We
I
went
was
to
freezing my
Fort
butt off.
Langley,
Yeah.
and it was 3 degrees.
Yeah, man. It was, and the wind was biting. It was just, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we watched my son do the sports, and of course it was soccer. It went into extra time. Then it went into penalty shootouts because it's playoffs. So it was nerve wracking.
Oh, really? Did they win?
No, they lost.
Oh,
yeah. They lost in penalty kicks. It's the worst way to lose a game ever. Yeah.
Although I take some heat for this because in hockey too, I love shootouts.
Yeah, I mean it's exciting,
it's like,
but
it's like, I don't know. It's just like the whole drama of a hockey game or soccer game just boiled down to like 10 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
It
is really fast. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, I don't like that they would do it for like playoffs, like how in hockey playoffs they don't do shootouts anymore.
Yeah.
Because
it's not really a fair.
It is kind of a shitty way to lose, and it's also kind of a shitty way to win.
Yeah. Totally.
I just like watching guys try to score on a goal.
Oh yeah, and coming up with creative ways to try and do it too, right? Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. But yeah.
So sorry.
You want to spitball about the moon a little bit more?
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, I can go a little longer, and then I'm gonna have to go to bed because Daddy's pooped.
Daddy's pooped. I love having like a background because I'm just like leaning on the side of my couch,
and it's on your face.
And I just look like I'm posing.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
ladies. Yeah, I can't do that. I gotta actually pose.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd really never given the moon a lot of thought until today. Yeah.
Which is weird because I got a tattoo because I was like, there's more to the moon. And then I was just like,
because it's been a long time. You got that tattoo a long time ago.
Yeah, I got it in 2000 and probably 2009.
Oh yeah.
Ish. So
14
Google
years old.
existed back then.
It did.
So I had the ability to look into it. I
got another moon theory for you.
Give it to me, big boy.
So we didn't really discuss like how the moon, we like very briefly at the beginning touched on how the moon affects like the tides and everything.
Yeah.
Earth, right. So your ballast theory holds some water, if you will. About like maybe if there are things shifting in the moon, it pulls the oceans, it pulls the currents and stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And aren't the winds affected by the moon? Why do I not know this? I should have done a little bit of research.
The thing is, when you do stuff like this and you do a little bit of research, it turns into a lot of research.
Yeah.
Because even what I did, like I skipped over some of the other stuff. Like I went down a side rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Where there was this guy in like 1953, he hand built a fucking telescope, and then he looked at the moon and he saw a bridge go over a crater, and he's like, "Oh crap." And then this guy from Britain was like, "Yeah, I looked at it," and there's like a YouTube video you could watch. And then later that like guy got laughed out of being an astronomer. Like they made so much fun of him because they said it was just like a lighting shadow thing or
Right.
whatever.
Well, your home built. Yeah, what are the odds your home built telescope isn't playing an optical illusion on you?
Yeah, so but it's wild. Like I found a video on Facebook from like BBC archives,
Yeah.
and it's from 2018, and it's like just this like in the 60s, this guy's like interviewing this old astronomer, and it's like watching old interviews is wild
Yeah.
because it's like they're
Everybody's
in this
smoking.
guy's yeah, they're in this guy's yard talking, and his microphone has like a thing, and then he's like, "All right, let's sit down and talk." And it shows them walking to a bench,
Yeah.
sitting down, and it's like, and they did have edits in it, and
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they cut out other
But that
stuff,
was
but
part of the footage.
yeah, they left him walking to a bench and sitting down.
Yeah.
So like would like because people in the 60s, I guess their minds were so soft, they were like, "Whoa, the scene changed. What
Yeah.
happened?" So they
Yeah.
had to
So they
like
had to show the
show
transition, right?
yeah, they had to have the narrative of the transition, I guess.
And now, like when I create marketing videos for work, it's if they're any longer than 1.5 seconds, no one cares. Between the transitions, between
Oh
the things, like
man.
whack, 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 whack.
Yeah, and especially because it's for like motorbikes, so it's
Yeah.
like you could get away with that. It's just like different revs, like bing,
Yeah.
boom, bing, bing,
Totally.
bing, the
Yeah.
machine gun
100%.
shooting and stuff.
Yeah. So again, yeah, I can see that. Like, yeah, in the early days of shooting film too, right? They're like,
Yeah.
well, how do we get from one scene to another? There probably wasn't a lot of thought put into the narrative of like how we tell that story, right? Everything now is about how you tell the story. Back then, they would have been like, well, he's got to sit down, so we better film him sitting
Yeah,
down, or else
exactly.
people aren't going to understand why he's going to sit down.
Plus, you just like you just said, they're shooting on film. That's more reason to cut as
So
much
much
out
more,
as you can.
but also so much more work too to edit, of to
Oh,
like
that's
splice and
true.
cut the film when you just leave him
Yeah,
walking into it. Yeah. Yeah.
but they had edits in different spots, so it's
Yeah, they
weird.
totally did. So they did
Mm,
do editing. It's just weird. Yeah,
yeah,
it's weird. Yeah.
yeah. No, so
Anyway,
yeah,
what were you talking
spaceship
about?
moon. Oh, how annoying it is to do like I don't know. I feel like I hate saying I hate doing research because it feels like
Yeah.
a cop out, but every time you do research on anything like this whole episode was me
Yeah, it was a side,
going
yeah,
on a
from something else.
tangent from just seeing what the like seeing like the occult stuff about the moon. Because
Totally.
like I just wanted to like look up some like facts about the moon. Like I worked at side note, I worked out the math. Remember I was saying so it takes 27 days and 7 hours for the moon to complete one rotation around the earth.
Right.
And it's called a sidereal month.
Right. 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 And it's 27 days,
Yeah.
right? 27 and a half days or whatever.
Yeah.
What did you
If
just
the
say? I
nine
literally missed it, but I remember.
it's called a sidereal month.
Yeah.
So
And it's
that's like
shorter than our like our what is it? What's our calendar called?
Roman gecko.
Greco-Roman calendar?
Yeah, maybe.
Something
Uh,
like that.
so 900-year lifespan broken down into these sidereal months to represent a year is the equivalent of 67.31
Gregorian.
years. Yeah.
Sorry, it's a Gregorian calendar.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a year, so that 900 broken down into sidereal months is 67.31 years.
Right.
And
Yeah, so there's some merit. Like if people track time via moon phases before they started tracking time by like seasonal phases, then like maybe we know time's a construct anyway. Oh my god, my brain just broke again.
oh my god, don't start
What?
with the time as a construct shit
what
because
what if they used to calculate lunar or what are you sidereal months,
the
right?
problem with this is it doesn't break down into a year perfectly because there's 13.37 sidereal months in a year.
Right.
So you would have to add those years up until it matched up, and then it would be like music. You'd have to match up your beats. Or
But
sorry, that
it's
just made it
no,
more
I get what you're
difficult.
saying, but it's still the same amount of time
Yeah, but you can't count a year in sidereal
equally.
months like I'm talking about like cave people, they can't be like, okay, 13.37 moons have passed.
Right.
So it's like you'd have to figure out the math of like how many 13 3.7s would go into the same divisible amount as 365.
Right.
So like you would have to match them up.
That's a whole lot of math for a cave person to do,
So
right?
like I could figure it out if I had
Yeah.
enough time. Wait. So I guess you could have wait.
You can do some quick math. Today
I
on
guess you
Daily
could go
Uses a
3.
Calculator.
Let's just say it's
Yeah,
13.33. Let's just be nice.
sure.
So you have 3 sidereal years, breaks down into like, so you would have like, so basically you would count 30, what was that, 39, so 40. You would have 40 sidereal, no, yeah, 40 sidereal months equals 3 years. So if you had to track time by the moon, like you can't
Yeah,
count,
you
you
can't
can't
count. It
count
doesn't make
night
any
day or
sense.
whatever. But
You're
anyway,
right.
so but you
I see
could
it gets out of
go,
hand really quickly.
yeah, you could go 40 sidereal months. So you could break down like the seasons and stuff. And
Wait, isn't
then
this how like Lunar New Year works?
yeah, it's also the most fucked up thing. Easter's coming up.
I know.
Do you know how they figure out Easter?
I don't remember no, I don't know
It's
exactly.
the first Sunday after the new moon after the spring equinox.
Yeah, because
Like
like
that
next
is
year
the
it's supposed to be in April again.
yeah. So it's like spring equinox is halfway between the uh wait. June 21st and September
Longest day of the year.
21st
Short,
are
yeah.
the what's that called? It's not the equinox.
Yeah, the
Or is it the
equinoxes.
equinox?
Yeah.
What's the one in the middle called then?
I don't know. That
Anyway, so it's not the equinox, it's whatever. So it's like halfway between the equinoxes. So exactly 3 months before June. So February 21st is the
oh, the
spring.
solstice.
Yeah. Oh no.
So
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 the summer and winter
the equinox is
solstice.
March and September, and the equinox is December and June.
No, the solstice is June and December,
Right.
and the
Sorry.
equinox
Equinox is
is March and
September.
September. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I was right. Sorry. I
You're
just
right. That's
forgot
my
that what
bad.
the
I sorry, I
solstice
didn't mean
was.
to
Yeah,
screw
no.
you. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. It's the
So
summer
yeah.
solstice and the winter equinox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is as like which is the longest and shortest days of the year.
Yeah.
And side note, I guess this has nothing to do with Spaceship Moon or anything, but the birth of Christ was the birth of sun in the pagan religions
Right.
because the wait, is the solstice the 22nd or the 21st?
21st.
Yeah, so it's like basically the 21st is the shortest day of the year.
Yeah.
And then 3 days later, like so the sun actually disappears for 3 days. So this was actually what they used to call the death of Christ because it's like, he disappears, goes to hell, and
Yeah.
comes back 3 days later. So it all kind of like they took pieces from the solstices and moved them around and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm all thinking about the sidereal year of like 40 sidereal months.
Sorry, man. I got you totally thinking about that. What if we
Yeah.
calculated it by the moon before we calculated it by the sun?
How much do you think people loved me doing math on the fly?
That was pretty cool, actually. I liked it.
Trying
I
to
loved it. I
catch
don't
up
know. It
stuff.
really, yeah, that was awesome. All right, maybe let's wrap it up here.
Buddy.
I'm getting loopy.
Hey, no problem. It's yeah. Yeah, it is peek behind the curtain. It's 10 p.m. That's why.
Yeah.
That's also why I'm getting like, whoa.
I'm very sleepy tonight. My back
Yeah.
hurts because I'm old. I'm old man.
I did too much talking. My mouth is sore.
You did really well tonight. You did great tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think you did a great
Patsy,
job.
I'm leaving all this in so people can hear
you. So they can hear your compliments.
This is
going to be that today.
This is going to be that interview from the 60s where they just let
they just let them
This is
Yeah.
us. This is us. The
Walking
equivalent
to
of
the
us
couch.
walking to the bench is you
Yeah.
just heaping praise on me being able to read out loud.
You did great. You did great. You did so
Thank you,
wonderfully,
buddy.
buddy.
You
I'm
did
proud
good
of you.
too.
Oh, thanks.
I'm
Thanks.
glad I was able to take you on this trip and you could suspend your disbelief about the tugboat moon. And I started off the podcast saying I don't want to couch this theory and be like, I don't believe in the tugboat moon. I just want to use this as a possible
As a
theory. Guess
yeah,
what?
you
I
believe in the
believe in the
tugboat moon
tugboat
now.
moon.
There you
You
go.
know what?
You talked yourself into it.
Maybe if I get some free time, I'll design t-shirts that say I believe in the tugboat moon.
Cool. There you go. Start your own. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah,
Oh,
sell them on the.
I was definitely going to call this episode Spaceship Moon.
Yeah, but now you want to call it Tugboat Moon?
I kind of want to call it Tugboat Moon.
I love that. That's actually
I'm definitely going to do that.
From a pure marketing perspective, that's a very catchy title.
And because if you say Spaceship Moon, it's ambiguous and people because people talked about the moon being a spaceship and stuff before. But if you say Tugboat Moon, it's kind of more precise and retains. It's like
that's
the
all you
window
too,
of stuff
right?
it covers. It's smaller.
Yeah,
Tugboat Moon. I like
Tugboat
it.
Moon. Love it.
Let's go.
Solve that problem. All right.
Okay, I'll let you go.
Okay. Thanks for joining us on the Dale Show. Bye. Yeah.